Hello everybody, how are you? My name is Kikerlin and welcome to Ero. Today we are gonna be commentating PC2. It's round 5 in Britain, also known as the Silverstone GP. With me today will be Adam commentating as well.
Hello. So, it's actually round 6, but never mind.
Oh, it is. Okay,
It is.
Then
And my
title
pod
is wrong.
keeps disconnecting, got something to do with my fucking train.
Okay, then.
Okay.
So
yes, it's actually round 6.
Yes. We have 17 drivers, almost a full grid today, so it surely is going to be interesting. Looks like we have a dry qualifying session, but we don't know what the race is going to be, so we are gonna see many different strategies happening today as well. We have a lot of new drivers that have come in the league. And a couple of those are Tuka, Nuno, and Jacob. They are going to be racing with us today, so let's hope they have a good debut race. And yeah, I'm not going to be speaking as much because I'm quite sick. If you hear coughing, please don't mind. And yeah, I hope that you enjoy today's race.
The coughing is likely to go for both of us, because I'm also not 100%. But I should be fine to speak through this. So, we're at Silverstone, in the fantastic Great Britain. Obviously, it's the best place in the world. But the weather can be a little unpredictable, so even though qualifying's dry, it could be completely siling it down for the race. One of only 2 countries in the world to have had a Formula 1 race every year since 1950. Most of them at Silverstone, some at Brands Hatch, some at Donington. And obviously we are in the new layout with the new pit building and the Hamilton Straight, which got renamed last year because of Lewis. So there's obviously a lot of stuff that can go wrong at Silverstone. It can be quite difficult to overtake, you can get into DRS trains. But there are some real overtaking opportunities. There's a couple of heavy braking points. You can overtake at Cops, although as we've seen this year it is risky. And you can... You know, there's 2 DRS zones, but the problem with the DRS zones is the corners after them are very sweeping. So you can carry speed on the outside, and the track sort of tightens up as you come out of them. So we could see a bit of chaos in the race. Hopefully, we won't see too much, and people will be sort of smart with it. But yeah, I mean, it should be good. Silverstone's normally pretty good. The weather normally plays a role in it as well. As the drivers are now starting their first flying laps. So the guy at the front of the train is Michael Michelin, who was unfortunately this week picked the incorrect car. He's in the McLaren, so that will be a warning instead of the Alpine he's supposed to be in. But I mean, it doesn't really matter all in all. As he's going now through Maggots and Beckett's, there's a pretty decent line. It is the hardest part of the track to nail it, to get it right. There's a red flag in sector 3. Someone appears to have binned it on their outlap. That's an Alpha Tauri. As we come around Stowe, very close to breaking track limits on the inside of Stowe. Normally it's the outside where you have to worry, and down into the Vale chicane. Good to keep your minimum speed up, feather the throttle on the way out so the car doesn't step out on you, and through Club and over the line. Ooh, I think Iron Monkey's actually binned it. Properly binned it. Which is Nuno. Oh no, he's got going again.
And
but he was sideways on the finish line.
As of right now, Nathan Powers has set a fastest lap time of 1:27.3. That is a pretty good lap time at the moment.
Yeah.
But there is definitely time for improvement, as his teammate George Norton has also put a pretty good lap time in P2, so it's a front row lockout for Aston Martin. But around 10 people still haven't set a lap time yet, so it's gonna be
they
really
are pretty much all out on track. The only people not on track are Raphael in the Mercedes and Lassie in the Haas. They're the only people sort of sat in the pit lane. It's possible that they're expecting safety cars, so they want to keep that fresh set of softs, because you can get 3 soft runs in fairly easily around Silverstone. So it's possible they just want to, sack off that first run where the track's sort of its greenest, and then take 2 runs later in the session. Keep a brand new set of soft tyres for the race.
And that is actually pretty interesting because no one is going with a lap on mediums, so that might mean that we will have a rainy race today.
Entirely possible, but while there is an advantage to starting on mediums compared to starting with the softs, this is a track where you want to avoid the hards at all cost.
Of course.
They're just terrible. Because there's so many fast Whoa! George has a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Nathan.
Oh.
And I think that was going into the pits. Nathan may have braked a little earlier than George was expecting. Oh, that's really going to hurt the Mercedes driver.
That is really
at this point, it might be a case of just not really bothering with qualifying. Taking that 5-place grid drop. Because if you qualify in the top 10, you've then got to start on your soft tyres. But sort of, unless you get a really, really good qualifying, you've got to start lower down. Or you sort of qualify low down, and then you're going to end up nearly at the back anyway. So it might be a case of just sort of sacking that off. I think that might be what I do actually. As his teammate Raphael is on his out lap, just coming around cops, and Mercedes' round cops don't always end well, as we have seen.
And,
hopefully we won't get a repeat of this year's Grand Prix.
Let's hope not, but anything can still happen. I guess we'll have to see. Tuka has a lap time of 1:27.4. If you didn't hear before, he's our new driver, as well as Nuno and Ryan and Jacob. So this is right now a pretty good qualifying lap for his debut race. And let's.
So that's really quick. That's really fast.
That's really fast, and let's hope that he can maintain that pace in the race as well. But if it is going to rain, we probably will see a lot of interesting strategies. Some people probably doing a 0 stop as well, because Britain is really conservative on the tire wear. You can really
I mean, the softs drop off at a fair rate, but as soon as you get that harder compound with the mediums, they do seem to last quite a long time. You could probably pit on lap 2 and make it to the end without too much trouble. It wouldn't be as fast, but I mean, you could manage it if you picked up damage early. It wouldn't completely destroy your race. As Nathan is out for another lap to try and extend that lead he's got at the front, bigger than the half a tenth he currently has. But a 27.3, a low 27.4 on the first lap on a green track, I mean, that's easily PC1 pace. I wouldn't expect the PC1 grid to be too far ahead of that on their first lap. I think, your fastest first run in PC1 tomorrow might be something like a 26.9, 26.8 maybe, for a first run. I mean, obviously it'll get quicker than that, but you'd expect Nathan and co to get faster than that, obviously as the track rubbers in. With so many fast corners, the rubbering in of the track makes you so much quicker because you can just carry more speed through there. Through places like Stowe and Cops, where it's easy to break track limits if you carry too much speed. As the track rubbers in, you can carry more and more and more speed. As we actually see, Greg is out on the mediums, so he's trying to do one of his crazy strategies like he managed in Singapore and Baku, actually. He's really good at qualifying on the mediums, although he does run a bit wide at Brooklands.
And we have a retirement from an Alpine of Camille. Let's see from George's
I'm just about to go past it. What's he done? Oh, how has he crashed? That's not even a corner anymore.
Maybe he wanted to visit the old pit lane and forgot that there was a barrier there.
Hates Lewis so much he doesn't want to go in the pit lane on his straight, so he was like, I'm going to use the old one. As Greg now comes through Maggots and Buckets is pretty well on the mediums. The car does like to wash out a bit on that harder rubber, but he keeps it pretty tidy. Through Stowe, drops it down 3 gears, misses the apex slightly, but keeps the lap. And into Vale, hard on the brakes, down to 2nd gear, cut that inside curb, feather the throttle, and through Club.
That was a pretty slow lap.
Well, he's slowest, but it's mediums. I mean, they're not great around here in terms of raw pace. There's quite a delta between the mediums and the softs.
I think they should be like 6-10 slower, but I'm not sure.
I think it's closer to a second.
Zik, we have a message.
If you take a second off that lap, it'd put Greg 4th, which
Zik,
is the sort of place where he's been kind of qualifying anyway.
You have to check the PC2 chat.
Oh.
A message from boss.
Oh, I see it. But I don't have him. Can you do it?
What's the message?
Guy wanting an invite. One of the extra reserves we have. Since we had people no-show. Do we have anybody on a quick lap right now? Well, Nathan,
Void
just
Fish.
on a 20-0.
Okay.
Gotta stop being psychic, man. His teammate is just going through Maggots and Beckets now. Coming onto the hangar straight. He's up, but less than a tenth up. But he might have enough to get ahead of George.
And I think he also got slipstream from George as well.
Yeah. Bit of slipstream from Greg, which is nice. Into Vale, hard on the brakes. Good line through there, keeps it in third. A lot of drivers take it down to second.
I think
It's a bit of a wash on oversteer on the exit. And he does improve above George, but he's only fifth.
I think he can improve in the penultimate
Absolutely.
corner, as he lost a bit of time there, probably around 2/10s, but that's still a pretty good lap time.
Yeah, one of our new reserves, Ryan Chapman, is in the Red Bull today. He's just come through Maggots and Beckets. He's currently third on the grid. I actually did a practice race with him yesterday. He does have some decent pace, and he's 4 tenths up. So if he can find another couple of tenths in this third sector through Stowe and Vale, that's going to be challenging for Paul with Nathan. Very good round Stowe. Hard on the brakes down. It keeps it in third again for Vale. I see most drivers keeping it in second, but he manages to clip that apex nicely. And through Club and over the line, it's a 27-2.
Only
second.
Only 2/10 slower than Nathan Powers.
That's pretty. I mean, with the pole ups Nathan's been saying this year, that's pretty good.
There is still 6 minutes until the end of the session, so a lot of people can still have time to improve. And Gregor was the only one to set lap time on mediums, so I think I'm pretty sure that Rain is going to be on the horizon in the race, as well as tomorrow in Russia in real life. So it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, no spoilers. I've told you this. It is quite possible that that Rain is coming, or it might just be a case of because it's an easy one stop either way, whether you go softs, mediums, or medium softs, and you can get stuck in a DRS train quite easily around Silverstone. There's not a huge amount of time you can gain with driver skill. It's very much based on setup and any slipstreams you get and getting the DRS and things. Driver skill doesn't have a huge amount of impact like it does in most places. As long as you don't totally screw the lap, there isn't like massive gaps. You're not talking a second and a half covering the field that you shouldn't be. If everyone gets a good lap in, you might be talking about half a second covering the whole field. So it might just be a case of they don't want to go on the mediums, qualify in an okay position, sort of 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere like that, or in the bottom half of the top 10, and then lose places off the start and get stuck behind some soft runners until they pit. I think the power of the alternate strategy at Silverstone is significantly lower than a lot of places, especially considering the softs don't wear all that fast. So you're not getting that sort of the soft guys diving in early like we got at Singapore and Baku, where the softs just dive in very early, and then you've kind of got a free reign for sort of 7, 8, 9 laps before you have to pit on your mediums. And especially at Baku, where you can just do a stop less.
And let's be on board with Lasse Rasmussen in the Haas, who is just starting his
lap now.
And let's see.
So here we come through Abbey, keep it flat, try and cut that inside does well, and through Farm, obviously easy flat. Brake later than you think for Village, because it's quite an open corner. And then sacrifice the corner here for the loop to get as good a drive as possible out onto the Wellington Straight. Easy flat here, open the DRS, head on down to Brooklands and Luffield. It's easy to get this wrong. Very easy. You brake later than you think, ease down the gears, try and clip that inside apex, you just missed it. Down another gear for Luffield. Don't stay tight in, you want to top double apex this corner. Gives you a better drive out, down the old pit straight and towards Cops. You can take Cops flat. You can. But you have to get the line perfect. Lassie just drops it down a gear, uses the engine to slow it down a little bit. It's a safer option. And then see you're into Maggots and Beckett's. You can take that first one flat, drop it down a gear, drop it down another 2, round the last corner, around Chapel, and onto the hangar straight. This is your second DRS zone.
And
this is where you're going to see a lot of overtakes down here.
Of course.
Hopefully, into Stowe. So you want to downshift before you turn in for Stowe. It's the weirdest corner in the world. And then you want to bring it down here, hard on the brakes into the Vale chicane, the second hardest braking zone on the corner, on the track. Keep the back end in check through the second part and through club and over the line. It's a 27.4. That's pretty good for a first lap. I know the track's rubbed in a bit, but he's only done 1 lap in qualifying, so that's pretty good.
And Greg behind him has put a lap time, but he has invalidated. He put a 128.0, so that would have put him in P8 probably, but of course invalid. And we see a lot of people going out.
Ruined set of softs.
Of course.
As I think Lassie spun it. Oh, he's just getting out of the way. Yeah, he's just getting out of the way. He thought Greg was on a flyer. So that's fine.
I don't think he will have enough time to do another lap, as there are 2 minutes remaining in the session.
You've got no chance.
Of course.
Michael's on the lap. He's just coming around. Left field now, and onto the old pit straight. Lassie gets out of the way nicely. See, nobody ever cuts that corner. I don't even know what it's called because it's such a non-event. But nobody ever cuts down that. You can get right to that inside white line with your outside tyres. And then that's fine. He takes Stowe pretty flat. He keeps it in 8th gear, just a slight ease on the power. At this point in qualifying, when the track's rubbing in, you could probably take it properly flat. Good line through Chapel, runs it nice and wide out onto the hangar straight. He's up 3.5 tenths, so this could put him in the top 5. This could be challenging that 27.7 up there at 5th. Good line round Stowe, manages to keep up his minimum speed, which is the important part. Drops into second for Vale, uses the engine to slow down the last bit. And through club, and nobody's keeping it tight for the line through club, but he does do a 27.7. Takes 5th by 6 thousandths of a second. As Nathan, for some reason, is doing another lap, despite having pole currently by 2 seconds.
I mean, Ryan Chapman is on his outlap, and he's only 2 tenths behind him, so he has a chance to get pole, as well as Rasmussen. But yeah, we have a big train of cars right now at the end of all Lassie Rasmussen spins, actually.
Oh, Lassie.
But yeah, as I was saying,
so we did a charge lap. So we put enough fuel in actually to do a charge lap and then go out and try a second flyer on the same set of tires. But the issue with that is, unless they're expecting a wet start to the race, he'd be starting the race on worn tires, which is not ideal.
I think we should be on board with Ryan Chapman, as he's probably going to be the final guy to set lap time, and let's see if he can improve.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, it's just coming down the Wellington straight now. Runs it nice and wide on the entrance into the field. Cuts that apex nicely. That's a good line through there. Down another gear into Brooklands, and yeah, there you see the double apex line. Didn't quite get it in tight for the second apex. And again, doesn't really cut that as tight as you could. But he's holding it in 7th here. See, that's going to cost him time holding it in 7th on the way up to on the way up to Cops. Sorry, and still holding it in 7th. Yeah, he finally shifts up now before Maggots and Beckett's, as Nathan does a 26.9. So it's a small improvement.
But he is the only one to.
We're going to get some traffic here. But he managed to get a bit of a slipstream, but it's not really going to help him too much.
But still improved by 1/10 and a purple sector 2, as now he's going on the final part of the track.
Good line through Stowe. Could have had a little bit more speed, but it's probably not worth the risk when you're already up a 10th.
And he has a really beautiful line on the line.
Very good through Vale. That's very good through Vale and Club.
And 127.0, 1/10 slower than Nathan.
Within a 10th of Nathan. Within a 10th of Nathan, but not quite.
That is really
quite
close.
Managed to take pole on his debut. That would have been exceptional. Dragos has bailed out of his, so that will be the grid. That's how we're going to line up.
And that is actually very close than I was actually expecting.
Yeah, like I said, like driver skill doesn't draw into Silverstone all that as much as it does on some other tracks, because there's so many slow corners. It's literally just throw it in and hope your setup means it sticks. So our front row is going to be Nathan and Ryan. 2 Brits on the front row at Silverstone. This is what we're going to have next year with Lewis and George. 100%. Telling you. Guaranteed.
I mean, we hope so. And we hope that George can beat Hamilton.
And we actually... Yeah.
At least
and
I hope.
We actually have 2 debutants in the top 3 with Ryan and Tuka in the reserve in the Alfa Romeo. He's putting a really good lap there of the 29.2 ahead of Lassie in his Haas, and then the Ferrari of Jacob, who's actually out-qualified his teammate. Alex in the Williams is 6th, with Michael in the McLaren, which is sort of just an Alpine that he spray painted because he felt like it, because his points will be counting for Alpine this today. Dragos in the Haas in 8th. Georgios qualified 9th, but because of that grid penalty, he will be starting 14th, which promotes Ollie in the Aston Martin. David Power in the Alfa Romeo after his podium finish last week. We'll be hoping for more of the same. Elliot in the Alfa Tauri will be starting 11th, so he's got but because of the penalty, actually David Power has sort of tactical pole position, I guess, but he'll be starting 10th, so he'll actually be further in front. With Elliot will be starting 11th, with Camille in 12th. Then you'll get George slotting in with Raphael, Robbie in the Red Bull, and Greg has actually qualified all the way down the grid because he invalidated his soft lap, which is not good.
Really unfortunate.
But he will be hoping for a wet race, so he can hopefully take advantage of some mistakes that will definitely be there, because Silverstone in the rain, people get way too aggressive at places like Hobson Stowe, and the car just doesn't like it too much. I can't tell if it's raining or if it's just very cloudy.
It is a bit
I mean, this
cloudy.
is Britain, so it could be anything, right?
But it looks like it's not gonna be as sunny, or it might be even darker than it usually is.
Yeah.
If you didn't know, the game can usually fake wet weather, and sometimes it's more wet or more dry as it actually seems. So I guess it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, when it's overcast, it just makes it significantly more difficult to keep heating your tyres, especially if there's a safety car. We did see some safety cars in the races yet last night in the PlayStation divisions, so it's definitely possible that there's a safety car, and then because it's overcast, people start losing temperature in their tyres, and then we might start getting some spins and things like that.
And we only have 3 medium runners with Camille, Rob, and Greg. The predicted strategy is a one-stop, of course, from softs to mediums, or from softs to hards. Or if you are starting on mediums, you can go to softs until the end and get the best pace that you possibly can. But, of course, we don't really know if it's going to rain, because it is overcast. So we'll just have to wait until a few laps, and then we're gonna see what people will want to do.
Yeah, I feel like with only 3 guys starting on the mediums, it's probably forecast for rain somewhere around the 10-15 minute mark.
At the middle
because
of the race,
otherwise there's no reason to not put the mediums on, right? Like, you get that slight advantage off the line, but you're just going to end up in a DRS train with all the other guys on softs at the front of the grid. And it could be quite interesting if it rains, actually, in terms of sort of tactical decisions and making that call. Because the top 2 in the championship are starting 1st and 16th. So we're not going to see a reenactment of Silverstone where the top 2 go, wheel to wheel on that first lap, and we see an incident, which, may have very sort of an impactful impact, I guess. I don't really think of another word to go with that. A big impact on the championship. So it could be an interesting one, this, when the rain turns up, or if it turns up. Obviously, we use approximate forecasting, so they could say, gonna rain in 15 minutes, but then we saw at Spa when they went, it's gonna stop raining, and then it didn't. So, could be an interesting one.
Could be. And Nathan actually has a reputation of bottling sometimes, and getting
well, that's true.
demoted
so if there's
places.
safety cars, although he says he's learned after the Baku incident, so if there's another safety car, he's not going to do the same thing.
I guess we'll have to see when the race starts in just a few moments. As everyone is running off the grid, we are waiting for Greg. number 24, and it should be done. And there we go, we are starting. We have 3, 4, and 5 red lights. And it's actually a pretty long hold up.
It's a long hold.
We have a
and
jump
we've got a jump start at the back of the grid.
But
And
looks
that's
like everything
that's a really good start from Ryan, I think. Oh no, actually it's a bad start. Never mind. That camera is.
Oh,
terrible.
we have
He's
Ryan.
gone straight on.
We have Ryan
Abby.
going on the sand, so that's pretty unfortunate. But everything else seems to be pretty okay. We have no crashes at the moment, as Nathan is safely in front. But Tuka will be in his slipstream, and he will probably be even closer to him on the next corner. But looks like everything went away safely. No crashes at the moment. But we can probably see some guys going side by side into cops, and maybe something will happen there.
Well, we've all learned that that's a bad idea.
Of course. And I think that Greg will
Yeah, that's a bad start from Ryan from the front of the grid. He did so well to qualify up there on his debut.
We have David, Power, and Dragos going side by side, but Dragos goes around the inside and takes that position. And Camille and David are going side by side into Baggett's and Beckett's, but Camille gets a pretty bad line off of the entry of the corner, and David just keeps that position for himself. And that,
those medium tires, man, they won't be up to temperature yet, so he's gonna have to. Well, I mean, he seems to have a decent gap to George behind though, but it's going to be difficult for him to overtake in the first sort of 3 or 4 laps, I would think, on the mediums, with everyone ahead of him on softs. As
you were speaking by George, George has been nearly overtaken by Rob at the penultimate corner as he mislooked his braking point. And
yeah, but Greg, sort of ever the poacher, managed to take advantage and get past into 13th place.
Oh, and Ryan nearly spins and he goes off track as Wojciech gets a pretty bad line and nearly spins as well. So that
as Elliot's in the pits on lap 1, so he must have damage, surely.
And he does.
He's getting a new front wing.
So
and he's going on the hards. Yeah, come on, man. You can get to the F1 mediums from here, so Elliot's going to be pretty slow on those hards.
We have a crash with George and Camille as George has misbraked his braking point and probably locked up. And
more contact.
And Raphael and Camille
Camille's
have
trying the old pits, and instantly gets a 3-second time penalty for a corner cut. That's one of the ones that might get removed. So he needs to just not think about that and just go on with his race and try and keep people within his 3-second window. That penalty might get removed there. It was, contact forced it wide, and I think it was an instant penalty.
I don't think that should.
In terms of track limits.
I don't know. We saw that Raphael and Camille were side by side, and probably Raphael turned in on them, but we didn't have a clear point of view. So
yeah. The camera wasn't a good view to see whether there was any steering lock either direction.
Yeah.
As we get the fastest lap of the race so far from Tuco in P2, and he's pressuring Nathan. Nathan's not having it all his own way here from the rookie on debut. And DRS is enabled, so he's going to get DRS now on Wellington Straight. If he gets a decent exit out of the loop, we could see some action into Brooklands field.
And he does, and
it's not a great exit, but it's not terrible.
But he has DRS, and he's not actually using any of his DRS, but he's still gaining a lot of time on Nathan Powers, but he will back out of the move as he will be patient. Probably around cops, but that's also a pretty bad place to overtake. But he gets a pretty okay exit off of Spoon, I think.
Not bad through Luffield, through Brooklands and Luffield. I mean,
yeah.
It's kind of impactful there. And we've got a yellow flag, we've got a spinner.
Of Jacob, I think, our debut driver.
So yeah, so that's 2 really, really good qualifying, sort of guppered by mistakes early. It is easy to lose the car at Silverstone if your setup's a little bit twitchy. And if you go with like a time trial setup and it's a little bit twitchy, it is easy to lose your car, so he's got to protect those tyres now. His left-hand side tyres are very, very hot.
We have a 3-second penalty.
Time penalty.
And Ryan is now trying to get ahead of Wojciech, who is defending the outside line. And let's see, he actually goes for the dive bomb. And they're still side by side, as Ryan is not leaving a lot of space for Wojciech. And he breaks a bit early to let Ryan past him, so that was a pretty good
Drago
decision.
spins. Oh, come on, man. You know you can't do that. Dragos spins on the exit of the Vale chicane and then uses a reset to track, which is an instant 5-second penalty and a penalty point from the stewards on your license. Can't do that, man. Can't do that.
That is going to be investigated after the session. We cannot do anything about that now. Let's be on board with Nathan and Tuka again, as they're still battling for P1. And Nathan
They managed to build a decent gap to Lassie as well. 2 seconds back to Lassie in P3.
They have, and Tuka is actually using his ERS to get close to Nathan.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. Probably just to scare Nathan into using more. He's trying to play that tactical game.
Nathan goes pretty wide. That's probably gonna be a warning for him. Let's see if Tuka can keep it clean and get the DRS on the next straight and probably overtake there. And
oh, you see the dirt? Yeah, they're washing him out from the middle, in the middle of Nuggets and Beckett just before Chapel.
It was pretty bad, but Nathan is not defending the inside line, and
DRS
Tuka will
takes the lead.
But they're still side by side as Nathan goes around the outside, but Tuka left no space, and Tuka is our provisional leader at the moment.
That was fine. That was all above board. He didn't really squeeze him wider through Stowe. There was technically a car width out there. You just had to be brave to use it, Nathan. But now it's his turn to be the predator and not the prey, as he gets a really good run through village and farm. Through Abbey and village, and then decent through farm. Oh, he's so much later on the brakes into the loop.
Oh, and
he had to
Nathan
ease off in the middle of the corners. He gets a kick of oversteer. He's just going to be too far back. He needs to try and close up through the second sector, and maybe he can get Tuka back down the hangar straight.
And Nathan is also using a lot of his ERS as he nearly collides with Tuka, as he was really good on the exit. But he is using a bit more ERS than Tuka is, so he's gonna have to be a bit conservative.
Got a yellow flag, and it's an AlphaTauri.
And a fight behind as well.
Of Nuno. It's an AlphaTauri of Nuno. He's spun in the first turn. Yeah, his tyres are so hot, it's so difficult for him to turn in now. Oh, it's a camel pit for brand new soft tyres. So he must have picked up damage somewhere as well.
And that may be because there is gonna be rain in the at the middle of the session, as our leaders are battling again, going side by side, and Tuka is going around the outside, and they're still side by side.
Nathan gets a good drive out of Stowe, but he's going to be on the outside for the first part of the Vale chicane. He leaves space on the inside. That's a good line.
And he gets a pretty good
Managed
exit.
to take the lead back. This turned into a good fight.
It has, and just behind them, Nathan's teammate George is also battling with Lasse Rasmussen to get P3 and the final stop on the podium as well.
Nathan's teammate's Ollie.
What?
Nathan's teammate, it's Ollie.
It's George.
It's Ollie. It's Ollie Ball.
What?
Oh, no, right, it is George. What the fuck? That's changed. That's weird. Okay, ignore me. It's fine. Yeah, so that's... Okay, that's me. I put the wrong name in. It's fine, don't worry about it. So yeah, so Lassie, George, and Alex are sort of a group of 3 behind us. We've got Michael and David going side by side through Brooklands.
Michael
manages to get the place. Now that will be points for Alpine, not for the McLaren that he picked. Apparently he had a game crash on driver select, so he just threw him in a McLaren.
That is pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, so I mean it's going to be a warning, but it's like you don't get really done for a warning unless you keep doing it. Keep doing it, then you get penalised for it by the league. But for a warning, you'll be okay.
And
so there's some decent fights lining up sort of further down the grid. We've got Greg is now up to 9th place on those mediums, so while his qualifying was a bit disappointing, his race is pretty good, and he's got DRS on George. We don't go straight. Tries to the outside of Stowe. That's gonna be tight. Yeah, he has to back out of that. There's no way that's gonna end up with damage. If he carries on
and George and Greg have collided. I think that Greg has damage, as he is going very wide at the start-finish straight. So that is pretty unfortunate.
His front wings are there, and he gets through Robbie fine.
And George's wing is also damaged, I think. As Rob is trying to go around.
It looked to me that George braked really late. I didn't see the contact.
I haven't seen it as well.
Yeah, we've got a big fight here at the bottom end of the points. As Nathan's regained the lead down the Wellington straight with DRS. And we've got a spinner, and
It's
I'm not
it's
sure.
George Norton.
It's George. It's George.
It's Nathan's teammate, so that is pretty unfortunate. As he was battling for P3. But we do have a pretty big fight.
That's going to drop him out of that sort of second group and behind the third group, and now he's going to get mugged by Ryan. Ryan, who was dead last after he spun on the first lap, has made a really good charge back up to 7th place.
That is pretty impressive.
Showing that pace he had in qualifying wasn't just out of the blue over one lap. He's got good race pace too.
And Rob is now trying to get ahead of Greg, who is actually defending the inside line, and they're still going side by side as they do make a bit of contact, and they're still side by side as Greg is defending and pushing him.
Oh, Greg just shoved him off the road!
Greg pushes him off the track, and now I think he has damage as he cannot turn at all.
And they're both paying. They're both paying.
And
he goes into the back of him on pit entry! Oh, come on, Greg.
That's really dirty from Greg.
I don't think it's dirty. I think he braked later. Maybe he had his lines better for pit entry, but because I mean they were very close. But
maybe because he didn't have a front wing, that caused him to lock up before the pit entry, and he accidentally.
They're all going on hards. I find this weird.
That is actually pretty weird.
18 laps on mediums, you can do that. Although in fairness, like Greg was on the mediums, so yeah, he kind of has to go hard. But some of these guys were on softs, they could have gone mediums and got to the end on those quite easily. But there's now a huge gap back as Camel gets a 3-second penalty down in 16th. That's not going to help his day.
We have our
but
leaders
he managed to make 3 places on the through Abbey as people are coming out of the pits.
We have our leaders battling again, Nathan and Tuka. Tuka will have DRS.
Well, he's going to have DRS now down the hangar straight.
And he actually has a lot of DRS to spare, and he's not using any.
Yeah, he's done really well keeping hold of his ERS. Silverstone's a place where it's not easy to recharge it once you've used it. But he's actually at a full 100%, so he's been basically keeping off the ERS button.
If Tuka
scaring Nathan into using it.
If Tuka can win today, that's gonna remind me of my debut race here in Ero, as I also won here. A fun fact about me, but that's probably a flex as well.
Well, in my debut race in ERO, I got lapped and then got taken out intentionally. So you had a better debut than me.
I won by 2/10 off of Noodles.
Oh Jesus!
And we were in the same voice call, and I was just screaming with my heart's intent. Like I was so happy.
Yeah, you definitely had a better debut race than me. I got lapped by Alex, and then while I was getting out of the way, it was in Canada, so while I was getting out of the way, I clipped the wall, and then accidentally damaged a guy, and then he saw red and he brake checked me on the straight afterwards.
That's
that's
bad.
Well. That's well.
That's bad.
Yeah. But that guy got banned, so it's fine. Like he was a dick. But anyway, so let's see if we can have another victorious debutante, as we've had another spin. It seems to be a Red Bull in the loop.
And Greg and Dino are going side by side into Spoon. I think that in that corner is
Robbie. I think he's just come out of the pits. Like we've had some more guys pitting for hards. One of the guys at the back has actually pit for mediums. My pad's just disconnected itself again, so I can't see who it is.
It's Wojciech.
It is Wojciech
on mediums.
Yeah. See, so that's the strategy I would expect. So go to about sort of lap 10, maybe lap 11 on the softs, and then put the mediums on and just go to the end.
And Nathan Powers, our provisional leader, has also put mediums, and Alex and Ryan as well. So they will.
Yeah, Nathan going for the undercut on Tuka, trying to build that bit of a gap. If he can get him out of the DRS range, he might be safe for a couple of laps.
And he has clean air, so he can definitely improve a lot of time, as he is on the fresh tires, and he will probably get around to
the top 7 now on their softs. If the rain comes now, they're going to get a huge advantage.
And
although both Dragos and Jacob do have 6 seconds of penalties.
David, Power, and Michael in P3 and P4 respectively are battling for the final spot on the podium, but that's probably going to be demoted as Nathan will probably overtake them after the pit lanes, and David gets a pretty bad line off of the Mags and Beckett's, but he still is using a lot of his ERS and the DRS, but he will remain behind. I don't know that corner name, you probably do, but yeah.
Stowe.
Michael is going
That's
into
Stowe.
the pit lane.
At the end of the hangar straight, Stowe.
Stowe.
This is the Bell chicane, if you're on board with David.
Yes, I am.
And then the final corner that isn't really a corner, because you take it flat, is Club.
Club. Okay. I already forgot about that, but thank you for saying.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, so we've seen some more pits now from Michael. He's putting the mediums on, so he'll be going to the end on those. I think the thing that's confusing me mostly, really, is the amount of people that are pitting. I think that either the rain's coming late, or they're just not confident that it's coming at all. Maybe it's that the rain should have been here by now, and Jeff keeps telling them it's 5 minutes away for the last 3 hours, like he tends to do.
I guess we'll have to see, but Rob and Wojciech are side by side as Rob leaves him no space on the outside line and he goes a bit wide and he breaks really late, but Rob just doesn't take that as Wojciech nearly spins, but he does have a pretty good save before the final corner. I already forgot the name.
Club.
Like the cards in below.
Yes. Unfortunately, there isn't a corner called Spades, Hearts, or Diamonds.
Yeah, it's a shame.
George has DRS on Nuno, who hasn't pit yet. George has put the hards on.
He is going on the inside.
Fresh hards against Old Soft. There's contact in Luffield, in Brooklyn, sorry. But he manages to get the move done into Luffield.
And just behind them,
gets
Robin
a good
Wojciech.
drive out. He's going to be safe into Cops as well. Those soft tyres now are starting to go after 10 laps.
Of course. Sorry?
I mean, 10 laps is pretty good for softs. Like, most tracks, they don't do that. As 3 of the top 4 all pit.
We have a double stack from Alfa Romeo. So that is really interesting. And let's see if Nathan Power's undercut will work. And looks like it does, as he will have probably a 1 second gap of Duca. So that was a really good strategy decision.
Yeah, he's going to be out with the DRS. The pit lane's so long at Britain, and it's a slow speed limit because it's quite tight, which doesn't make any sense because it's like a brand new pit lane. They could have made it much wider.
They could have,
but it's
and a bit
quite
faster.
Tight, so it's a long pit stop, so you don't want to have to make 2 stops, which kind of explains the guys going on the hards. But you can get the mediums 23, 24 laps around here without a huge amount of problem. They're not super quick at the end, but they're probably faster on the hards over the course of the stint. So Lassie now leads by 23 seconds from Nathan, but he is yet to stop.
And as you're saying,
probably be picking this lap. Yep, he's picking this lap because he's out with VRS as well.
Probably, but as you're saying that we have a 4-way battle for P14. So we have George, Nuno, Rob, and Wojciech. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But yeah, Nuno gets a pretty bad line and goes really wide off of Spoon, I think that is. And Rob is using a bit of his ERS to try and get a bit closer to him. But
you're 9 hours away. That's in Suzuka. That's Luffield.
Sorry.
Hilarious. Yeah, that's Luffield.
I'm just trying to say something. You're
just not there today at all.
I'm just trying to sound professional.
The soft tyres are really struggling now.
I'm
he's
just
out with
trying
VRS, so he's got nothing to defend with.
And he's going to run the inside Rob on the Nuno, and he gets a pretty easy move.
Nuno has to pit. He's losing so much time on those softs, and he does. He's pitting. So this is going to be 15 laps on the mediums to the end. He's going to see what he can do in terms of making up spaces. We haven't really seen anybody get done for speeding in the pit lane today, apart from Camo.
And you're gonna
which is pretty good because it's an annoying pit lane.
Well,
it's an extremely slow speed limit, so it's 60 kilometers an hour or 37 miles an hour, depending on what you're using. But as I've discovered, when you're using the line, there is no line to tell you when to brake into the pit lane at Silverstone, so you kind of have to figure it out yourself.
I wonder why the pit lane is in a ditch.
Possibly.
I wonder why.
I'm not sure. But yeah, Nathan's managed to stretch his lead out now over Tuka to almost 2 seconds. So he seems to have a lot more pace on these medium tyres than Tuka.
And
Tuka
now that
spent a decent chunk of his DRS as well. He was on like full and he's now on about 60%. Trying to close that gap in, but it's just not working.
Oh,
as
we
we've
have
got a
spin.
spinner.
We have Camille.
Camille's
who,
lost it.
That's probably
Cost.
because of his old softs, which are probably backing down.
Yeah, they're getting to the edge of their life now, and Camille's also under fueled. He's down on fuel, so he's expecting a safety car. But there's so much runoff at Silverstone. I know it's grass, but there's so much runoff at Silverstone. Safety cars are not really expected here.
But I think the safety car is on reduced, but I'm not sure.
It is.
It is, okay, so that's definitely not gonna be a safety car then.
Highly unlikely. I mean, you need a pile up basically.
Probably.
But yeah, the only divisions that aren't running it on reduced from this week are F1 and F2.
Oh, that's
F3 and PC1 have been dropped down to reduced as well. Which I think is a little bit excessive. I mean, we had a lot of carnage in sort of Singapore and Baku, but they are street tracks, so you do sort of expect it. I think for Silverstone it'd be fine, as Ollie and Jacob are going side by side around Luffield.
And Jacob ran the outside.
On the outside line.
But they're still going side by side.
They're going to be side by side into cops.
That's not a good idea.
We've seen this before.
That's not a good idea.
George backs out.
But he does run wide, and that's probably gonna be a warning. And he's lifting off to be behind Jacob and probably get DRS on him. And he will probably
both have no ERS, but there is also a 3-second gap in front of Jacob, so he's not going to get DRS. But Dragos is getting involved now, and he's going to go side by side down the hangar straight.
And they
bit
touch
of
a little
contact,
bit.
wheel to wheel.
And
but he gets the move done into Stowe.
That was pretty nice.
Dragos does have ERS, which is giving him that advantage as Robbie gets a 3-second penalty. Penalties are starting to stack up now. So we've got 6 seconds for David in the Alfa Romeo, Jacob in the Ferrari, and who's Klopson? Wozniak in the Williams. I'm probably pronouncing that right because it's Polish. Incorrectly because it's Polish, and I apologise.
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't know. Polish. Yeah, we've got 3-second penalties for George, Raphael, and George. So both Mercedes and one of the Aston Martins. And we've got 9 seconds of penalties on Dragos and Robbie. And 14 on Camille.
Oh, that's...
So he's been cutting corners and speeding in the pit lane. Which, if there's a late safety car, is probably going to put him last.
Probably.
So he kind of needs to hope there isn't. But he's currently 16th, so I mean, he doesn't really have anything to lose if there is a late safety car or changing conditions. As Alex now gets a 3-second time penalty up in 4th. But he does have a 7-second lead over Ryan in 5th, so it's not going to hit him yet, as long as he keeps that gap up and keeps the pace up. Nathan still leads by 2 seconds. Tuka can't seem to close that gap in.
Michael and David
although he's saved up a bit more ERS, so he's now up on like 70%. As David gets down the inside of Michael, going into Stowe. There was nearly contact.
Oh, and they touch!
Contact on the exit!
And David crashes!
Oh. There was a bit of a squeeze there from Michael, but I don't think there was anything massively untoward.
And that is not a safety car somehow, as well.
Because it's on reduced! Oh, that's really unfortunate for David. He had an exceptional race yesterday.
That is really,
last week,
really
sorry, in Baku, managed to finish P2. But that's really unfortunate.
Well,
I don't think it was massively out of line, the defensive move that Michael made. I think it was just Stoke's up tightens on the exit, like the line you want to take, because it's very slightly cuts back towards Vale. I think they just sort of wanted the same piece of tarmac while they were side by side.
I don't know.
So that's really unfortunate.
At least we have footage from that, so the stewards can decide what can happen with that incident. But we should focus on everything else, and the stewards can focus on that, as Wojciech and Rob are going side by side into, I don't know what corner that is, and Wojciech goes around the outside and takes that position for free. Where are they?
Okay, yeah, that was Brooklands, and that's Luffield. They've just gone around onto the old pit straight. This corner, in quotation marks, does have a name, but I don't know it because it's not a corner anymore. And then runs wide through cops, Rob. But
And
he's got to
defending.
drive. He's doing well with those hard tyres, because they're not the best.
Sorry.
Doing
And
well with those hard tyres.
Rob gets a pretty okay exit. He gets DRS and he is using a lot of his ERS, as Wojciech doesn't have any ERS, and Rob takes a pretty good, a pretty easy overtake before.
The ability to save your ERS around Silverstone is extremely strong because it's difficult to regenerate it. So once someone gets low on ERS, it's kind of hard for them to build it back up. The only places you really gain ERS are at Farm and Vale. The rest of the lap you just stop burning it off because there's no heavy braking points apart from those two corners.
Oh, we have weaving from Jacob in the Ferrari. It's good that I caught that on camera because that's probably gonna be a warning.
That's possibly a warning or a penalty. It kind of
think
depends
a warning.
how close behind him Dragos was.
It's a warning because he wasn't that close, but Dragos is trying to go around the outside and they touch a little bit.
Look!
And Jacob is not leaving him any space around the outside, but they're still side by side into Maggots and Beckett.
There's contact on the way into Maggots and Beckett.
And Jacob
But
bakes
he
a
gets
little
the
bit.
move.
Ooh,
Dragos manages to get the place, but Jacob's going to have DRS down the hangar straight. He has a decent exit out of Chapel. Gets that DRS open, he's burning what's left of his ERS. He's going to get a move on Dragos down the inside into snow.
And there's
going to be more contact in this race. There's going to be more contact in this race.
And Jacob has
so
overtaken
much
him.
close racing.
That and he dive bombs really badly from Jacob. But thankfully Jacob has avoided that and probably predicted that he would do a dive bomb and moved on the side.
Probably saw him coming, yeah.
Probably.
And Dragos is another one that's underfueled. So a couple of guys have underfueled expecting safety cars, and with all the contact and the crazy moves we've had in this first 18 laps, we haven't had one, so there's banking on one in the last 8. Or they're going to have to start some serious fuel saving later on.
Dragos will have the DRS again.
DRS on the
And
straight, and there's weaving.
Like I said, that's not allowed.
That's bad. That's pretty excessive.
And that's the second time that he has done that. And Dragos gets a pretty bad line off of...
We're allowed one move,
field.
just like in real F1, you're allowed one move and then you are allowed to retake your line.
And that was
so we can pull over to
probably
the
5
inside,
moves.
that's fine, and then pull over back to the outside to take the line into Brooklands. And then obviously if Dragos has got alongside at that point, he has to leave the cars with. You can't just refly that down the straight. Dangerous.
Let's move away from that fight a little bit, as we have a fight for P12, Rob, George, and Wojciech.
Yeah, so we've got a Red Bull and a Mercedes fighting into cops. We all know how this ends. But George isn't quite close enough.
Nice.
Into Maggots and Beckett. They're on exactly the same tyres, so they're both on 9-lap-old hards. But Robbie does have about 25-30% more ERS.
But
George gets on the ERS really early coming out of Chapel. It's really easy to unsettle the back end doing that.
And he has a pretty bad exit.
It's not going to help him. He's not close enough. Even with the DRS, he's just not close enough to Robbie to really make the move down there. And Robbie didn't really have to spend any of his ERS either.
He will have to be a bit
let's hope
more
we don't
patient.
get a dive into the Vale. We don't. Keeping it all nice and above board.
Dragos and Jacob are battling again at the same straight, and let's see if Jacob will leave, and he does not. He actually probably is listening to
That's fine. He makes the one move and then he makes the move back. And Dragos
was
alongside.
fine.
That's absolutely fine.
That was fine. But what we saw before was not good.
And he gets a better drive out of Lovefield, so he's going to be safe into cops.
Dragos is using a bit of his ERS, trying to get close to Jacob. Let's hope that he
and all of this fighting is allowing George to catch up to the back on older hard tyres.
And he is really close to Dragos.
He's reeling these two in. So this could turn into a 3-way fight for 8th. For 7th, sorry.
Let's see if he can find an opportunity to probably overtake both of them, as he doesn't have a lot of VRS.
Good exit from Jacob out of Chapel though, so he's going to be probably safe down the hangar straight. George taking some looks at Dragos down there, trying to see if he can find space, find a gap. They all have to now follow my leader through Vale, through Club. And they'll be looking for more DRS down the Wellington straight. Jacob needs to gain that little sort of 2/10 that he's dropped back a little bit from Michael, so we can get some DRS, which will help him defend. Because he doesn't really have any ERS to help him do it, so he needs the DRS to help him defend. All these three guys are on sort of their ERS is in teens, just under 20%. So they'll all be sort of looking to do most of the work and most of the damage with the DRS. There's not a huge amount of ERS they can deploy in order to sort of close the gap and then get the pass on the next straight with more deployment. And the gap at the front is now up to 2.5 seconds. Nathan slowly building that gap up. He's got good pace on these medium tyres. Even though they're older than Tuca's, he's managing to very gradually stretch that gap out.
We have a battle with the back markers, Nuno and Camille, as Nuno touches, Camille has touched Nuno a little bit at his rear left tire and nearly spun, but he managed to catch that before sliding off into the
Camille
wall.
has put brand new soft tyres on, so he'll be going to the end on these, and possibly hoping to steal the fastest lap away from Nathan at the front. Nathan currently on for a Grand Slam of 26 points and the pole position.
But there is still time to mess up.
3-second time penalty. There's always time for chaos.
Always. Even if you think you are safe, there is still time for chaos. As we have a 4-way battle for P6 with Michael, Jacob, Dragos, and George.
These guys have managed to catch up to Michael.
But
Jacob's managed to build that little bit of a gap back to Dragos, and he's caught up to Michael now. So he's going to have DRS, which should keep Dragos and George at bay, and hopefully allow him a run at Michael.
The only disadvantage they have is that they have penalties, and Michael does not have any. So even if Jacob overtakes Michael, he will have to do a brilliant job to extend. I think 3 seconds?
Wow. Yeah.
9 seconds.
No, it's 9. Jacob and Dragos have 9 seconds of penalties, so if George can get in front of Michael, he's got a chance to build that gap.
Oh, he goes really wide.
Jacob runs very wide at
and they're side by side.
And he's got down the inside. I feel like that might be at least a warning.
Oh, and Michael and Dragos have touched at the gearbox a little bit. I think that Dragos might have damage. And George
he's got a very slow exit out of Chapel, and that's going to give George a run down the hangar straight. Oh, but he was too far back when they touched the activation line and didn't have DRS, where Dragos did, which allows him to defend.
That is really interesting. Michael will probably want to overtake Jacob again, but maybe he will want to stay behind him for 9 seconds, which he probably will.
The 9-second gap in 4 laps is very unlikely.
We have a spin. I thought it was Nathan.
Camel,
I thought it was Nathan.
It's Camel. Calm down, it's Camel. As Nathan is now lapping the guys at the back of the field. It's been a really, really solid race from Nathan. He hasn't really made any mistakes. He's had a proper fight from Tuca. He hasn't really made much in the way of mistakes, as Tuca now is lapping Camille as well.
Oh, and Dragos has went really wide, and George goes around the inside with a pretty easy move as he takes that opportunity that was allowed from him. And that was a pretty...
On those harder, older tyres, he's having a really strong race here, is George. It's just been a good track for Aston Martin. As Alex gets a 3-second time penalty, is that another one? Another 3-second time penalty. That gives him 6 seconds of penalties. And Ryan, on debut, is currently 5.5 seconds behind, so that will promote him to 4th place if he keeps that gap and keeps his race clean. So we could have 2 debutants in the top 4.
And
that'll be a really good day for PC2.
That would be. And I would be really happy. Oh, we have a spin with Nuno, I think that is. Our debutant.
Nuno's lost it in Abbey. I mean, Abbey is probably the easiest place to lose the car once your tyres start wearing.
And if you
don't
touch
quite
too
get
much
the line
curb
right,
as
trying
well.
to carry too much speed. And his tyres now are going to be so hot, it's going to... catches it, trying to step out again through farm.
Oh, Dragos is going into the pit lane.
So Dragos must have had damage then to pit at this point. From a points position, he must have had damage.
Probably, and
he's going on the softs.
He's
going on the softs, but the pit lane at Silverstone is so slow and takes so long to make a stop. Unless there's some serious incidents up in front of him, he's not going to be able to regain that space. There's an 11-second gap back from Greg to Robbie at the bottom of the points.
Maybe
So
he
the
can...
points, without issue, without serious problems, are going to be pretty safe. Especially since Robbie has 12 seconds of penalties.
Oh, I think my game has crashed.
Oh, well done.
My game has crashed. Yay!
The lead at the front is now 4 seconds. But Tuka has a almost 7-second lead over Lassie, who also has a 3-second penalty. So the top two is looking pretty nailed on unless somebody totally loses it. As Nathan sets a new fastest lap. What? On 13 lap old mediums, he does a 29.0.
And
where did he get that from?
Why, when my game crashes, all of the action is happening? Why? Can you invite me back,
Drs
please?
comes out in 14th, 11 places behind his teammate. But he's on new stuff, so maybe he's going to try and steal that fastest lap point from Nathan. But the fact he's managed to do a fastest lap on 13 lap old mediums, he was probably telling his engineer his tyres were gone before that, right? Surely. That's how it works, isn't it?
Can you find, can you, invite me, please?
I can. I can invite you to watch. I assume that does the same thing.
To watch?
But I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the option to invite you.
That's... nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so looks like we are watching... Oh, that's not good. Okay. Try and press escape, and then it should be, invite friends or something like that, and find me.
Yep, on there.
And
okay.
find me.
Where are you? Seriously, where are you? Oh, there you are. Invite. Okay. So it's just the F1 2021 thing doesn't really work. The Steam thing doesn't work, you have to use the F1 2021 thing. So Dragos has a purple sector 1. So it looks like he is trying to steal that fastest lap. But, I mean, I suppose he's got to try and do this before he runs out of fuel. Because he's still under-fueled.
Are we going to
haven't had a
see
safety car.
Are we going to see the final lap? Let's hope so.
Can do. Yeah, Nathan hasn't started yet. He's just coming around Brooklands and Lovefield on lap 25, so we're not on to that final lap yet.
It's loading a really long time.
Ugh.
Oh, there we go, we're in! Yes!
Hey!
Yay!
But, I mean, Camel was underfueled, but he's not anymore, but it also wouldn't matter because he's a lap down, so he has to do a lap less. So he'd be safe from that anyway.
So, what was happening while I was gone?
Nathan set a fastest lap on very old mediums, which was
Christ.
a bit ridiculous.
What?
Yeah, 13 lap old mediums, and he set a new fastest lap.
129.0.
I mean, he's Lewis Hamilton, surely, right? He's gone. Oh, my tyres are gone. Lol. Fastest lap.
He's not
a full 4
complaining
tenths
at the
faster
moment
than anybody else.
But,
Tuka with the second fastest lap with a 29.4.
But he is running off the grid and wins. Wait, what?
No, well, there's a lap left. He's just starting the last lap now.
Wait, it said that it was the final lap.
Oh no! Now it's the final lap. It was 25 of 26. Yeah.
Then
I'm going to ride on board with Nathan for his final lap.
Yeah, we
see how he's doing with these tires. He doesn't have a warning light in these tires, so he has looked after them pretty well.
And he doesn't have
he's
a
got
warning
plenty
light
of VRS. I wonder if he's going to go for another fastest lap. If he does it on the last lap of the race, that would be so stupid. He's only 9 thousandths down at the Sector 1 split.
Wow.
Yeah. Decent line through Lovefield. The tyres obviously aren't very conducive to hitting the apex.
For me, it
Cuts
says that
nicely.
Dragos has 24 laps old softs.
24? That's a stretch. They were 13
laps.
lap old. It's still pretty good. And yeah, through Cops and into, well, Beckett's first, and the Maggots, which people don't realise. And then round Chapel, and onto the Hangar Straight, and he's got a lot of ERS he can just dump down here. He's still only 32 thousandths down, so if he dumps all this ERS, he might actually be able to do this. A fastest lap on the final lap. Through Stowe, but he has to drop down an extra gear because of the worn tyres. It doesn't quite carry as much speed. But he'll have had that problem on his fastest lap too. And into Vale, good line through Vale. does the early upshift through the second part of the chicane and round club and over the line to win with a 28.9. He does it.
What? What?
Hilarious.
But Tuka
And
has.
Tuka does come in second on his debut. As
for
Lassie now
me,
just rounds club with a 29.2, so he's 3/10 down.
Tuka has put a new fastest lap time.
What? You
A
didn't tell me that.
1:28.950.
Oh shit!
30,000 of a
so
second
I guess old
faster.
medium's what you want to qualify on now, right?
What the what? What?
These guys did really well looking after their tyres, as the points are basically decided now. Raphael comes home in 9th, and Greg makes it to 10th after his pretty subpar qualifying. Although he overtakes Raphael after penalties, so he does manage to get 9th, gets those 2 points. As Robbie now is coming around club for 11th place, but we'll see where he drops to after his 18 seconds of penalties.
That's a lot.
Oh, he's only going to drop to 13th, so he gets overtaken by George, who actually jumps 2 places and finishes 11th. And I'll let you say our Williams reserve driver's name, because I can't.
I don't know who he is. Alex.
And Elliot
Alex.
Drunk jumps. It's the same name as our supreme leader, but it's Polish, so I can't pronounce it.
Isn't he in the Alpine?
I don't think so. Is it Pavel in the Williams? It's possibly Pavel in the Williams.
And here we see Nathan. I think that this is probably his first win of the season, but I'm not sure.
Seeing this avatar, I remember seeing this avatar. I definitely think he's won before this.
I don't know. Probably. I don't know. But
Didn't he win in
looks
Singapore?
really happy.
Oh no, Greg won in Singapore.
No, Greg. But he does look really happy to finally win. If he didn't
pretty
win,
good.
of course.
It was a very well controlled race. Led from the front, got pole, set his fastest lap on the final lap. As did Tuka, who then got the fastest
Tuka
lap on the final lap. Because tyre wear doesn't exist, I guess.
Probably.
So the finishing position, Nathan for Aston Martin wins from our reserve driver Tuka this week, racing for Alfa Romeo in second, with Lassie, who manages third. Ryan, another debut driver, gets fourth. Alex in the Williams with fifth. Michael, who was supposed to be Alpine, but was in the McLaren this week due to a game bug, in sixth. With Jacob gets seventh. George in the second Aston Martin gets 8th, so they'll get the Constructors title for this race as well. Well, trophy, I guess. Greg makes his way to 9th, because he got no penalties, which was pretty good after a pretty abysmal qualifying. With Raphael taking the final points-being position for Mercedes in 10th place.
That is very nice.
Pretty interesting, really. It was a pretty good race. I mean, Silverstone tends to be a pretty good race.
And
There's quite a lot going on, a lot of action.
I think we also had the most people watching, as we had like constantly 10 people watching, so that's really impressive as well.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with
especially
that.
considering PC2 and F3 take part at the same time, that's kind of a problem because they sort of split viewership, I guess.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Like, PC2 getting some love, which is good, because the racing's really good in PC2.
It is.
And this race wasn't like an hour and a half long, like like Singapore and Baku turned into.
It was, I think, probably the best at the moment race, because
it was. I mean, we had that one incident, but I feel like that was kind of a racing incident. They both just on the same piece of tarmac. I wouldn't really blame that on anyone directly.
I don't know.
But I mean, it would need the POVs, obviously. But just from sort of our view, I wouldn't really blame that on anybody. But yeah, that was pretty good, man. That was really good.
And that was the British Grand Prix. If we don't have anything else to do, if we don't have any interviews, we are going to stop right here. I hope that you have enjoyed today's race and live stream. We had some technical difficulties at the end, but we have sorted that out. And yeah, we'll see you next time for round 7, I think that is. In what race is it?
Austria next week.
In Austria, which is going to be carnage. Let's And yeah, you can also tune in tomorrow for F1 and PC1, which is going to probably be interesting, but probably not as much as this race. And that is everything. If you want to join the league, there is going to be a link in the description. If you are new, you can join there if you want to race with us. And we also have Twitter, I think. and Instagram, but I'm not sure. And yeah, that is going to be it. Stay safe, everyone, and we'll see you next Saturday for Austria. Stay safe, everyone.